Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean,
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
that's a pill with two screens and it's open and you gotta swallow it.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
I am ashamed to live in this world.
I am Manila. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon
Hello.
and Caleb.
Hi.
And we are here to talk all things tech this week and last week. Dear listener, we appreciate it. And we're sorry we didn't have an episode last week. Caleb and I are pretty sick.
I'm recovering. Wes is still not doing amazing.
I have a lot of pressure in the face and nose. It's what happens. So I apologize if there's a little more sniffles and coughs. We'll see how well Landon can edit this episode.
Pray for
I
me,
guess I owe
listener.
him.
Pray for me.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers, listener, please.
Let's be real. He edits a lot of me out when I'm not sick. So, yeah. Anyway, hey, there was a thing that happened. I think Tim Cook might have gone on a stage.
Yes.
Something like that. I don't know. And talked about stuff. I don't know.
That is the thing that happened.
Maybe he resurrected the iMac, right? Is that what it was?
The iMac wasn't dead. I'm confused. Wait.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
No, he resurrected the G4 Cube.
He sort of did.
You know you want that. You want it.
I actually do want a G4 Cube. Thank you very much. Not the new one. The old one.
The old one. It's a cool style. Retro. Anyway,
Yeah.
Hey, Caleb, you're the expert on this subject. Let's go ahead and allow you to elaborate on what has happened, announced, and all the goodies coming.
There's a lot to elaborate on, listener. So, if we had recorded last week, basically the one piece of news that I would have had for you as an update is that Apple did in fact send out invites for their March 8th event, and it was called Peak Performance, except P-E-E-K instead of P-A-E-A-K. So it was a funny pun. Good job, Apple, or good job, marketing department. Anyways, the Peak Performance event. It happened this past week. Some big things came out of this, but let's talk about the boring crap first.
Hey, they did the same thing.
So, that's true. And I actually really appreciated it. We got through all of this stuff by like the 15-minute mark, and I was like, whoa, we've got some stuff to talk about, apparently. So first thing, Apple TV Plus. Big news. They had a trailer of a bunch of upcoming shows and movies. It was a trailer of a bunch of upcoming shows and movies. If you're subscribed to Apple TV Plus, which I am, because if I were to have the family plan of Apple Music and the iCloud plan that I have, then I would be paying the same amount of money as I am anyways, and I just get Apple Arcade and TV Plus in a bargain for free, essentially. So that's where I'm at. But I do not watch it frequently, which is kind of a shame. That being said, some of the shows and the movies, actually, a lot of movies that they're leaning into, and I might actually watch a few of them. Looks interesting, cautiously optimistic. The big news, though, I guess, for sports fans, Friday Night Baseball is coming to TV Plus as the service. And every week once baseball starts happening again, there are going to be 2 games only on TV Plus. So that's news. It qualifies. That's why I mentioned it. And that's it. So next, the iPhone. Also not really a ton to talk about here. There's 2 new colors, one for the regular iPhone 13 and one for the 13 Pro. One of them, the 13 is forest green. It's not actually called forest green. They just called it green, but it's forest green. And the other one is called Alpine Green on the 13 Pro. MKBHD.
Yes.
Yeah, did I get that right? I can never say his channel is hard to print. Anyways,
You got it.
He has a short on his channel on YouTube that is a minute long. And I think that that's about the amount of time that these phones deserve.
Yeah.
They're green. They look pretty nice. Go check that out if you want to see more.
And the only difference between the regular green and the Alpine green is on the Pro, it's got that matte finish on the glass, and that's basically the only difference. So it's slightly lighter because of the matte finish.
Like, the color does look different to the eye, but it is because of the difference of the finish on the back, I feel like, mostly.
Yeah.
And then, the rails are stainless on the Pro, and they're aluminum on the regular one. And, there's some differences there in finish, mostly. But, yeah, it's a nice green. Go look at some pictures. It's fine. Okay, then they did announce a new iPhone, kind of. So the iPhone SE, which is a great phone, has been a great phone ever since they introduced the concept. I've loved the idea. They refreshed it. It is still in the same iPhone 8-esque body, so it does have a home button still, but it does get the A15 Bionic chip from the iPhone 13 line. It includes 5G as well. So this is now, it's basically got all the same features internally of the other phones. So it's pretty cool. It's available in 3 colors. They've got Midnight Blue, Starlight White, and Product Red. So I thought that was interesting. No black or gray version, which is okay. It does have the same glass on the front as the iPhone 13 as well, the ceramic shield glass. So that's an upgrade as well. The camera hardware does seem largely the same, but it's going to have better processing from the A15 Bionic, and so they are claiming improved pictures. Okay, sure. One downside to this thing is that the previous SE was $400. This one is $430. So that's a bummer. A little bit more expensive, but inflation, supply chain issues, chip shortage, all of these things combined, it's $30 more expensive.
Kind of expected that, right?
Yeah, it's a bummer, but it is still a good phone at $430, honestly. Would not complain. And if you're buying a phone for I don't know, your kids or your grandparents or your parents or heck, even yourself, and you just don't care that much about your phone being the newest, fanciest thing, this thing is going to get iOS updates for at least the next 5 years, if not more 6 or 7.
Yes.
We are currently on 7 years of the 6S having full support in iOS. So
wow.
and that was what the 5S had as well, was 7 years before it finally dropped support. So just going to say it, it's a good investment for $430 in terms of future proofing. And if you just don't care about your smartphone that much, but you need one, this is a pretty good way to go. So it's available on the 18th of March. So there you go. That's the iPhone news.
I want to make a correction really quick.
Oh, okay.
It is just midnight. The color is just midnight, and it is black.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, I'm looking on their website right now. It definitely looks black.
How did I mishear that?
I don't know.
I did not. I was not looking at the slides for this portion of the event.
I mean, that's understandable.
I was just listening.
That's understandable. And I kind of skipped over or didn't pay super close attention, but I had to. Yeah, I thought it was black, so I had to verify. But yes, on their website it is showing the color is midnight, and it definitely looks black to me.
I definitely heard somebody say midnight blue, but I am apparently just crazy.
I'd be willing to bet someone out there has said that, because the watch is midnight blue. And
maybe
the sport version of the Series 7 watch is midnight blue.
And I heard it in the event, but maybe I just heard that and substitute. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I was more interested in it when it was blue, frankly. So anyways,
that's what you were thinking.
That's it. I just wanted a blue one. That's my problem there. Okay. So moving on to the iPad. They did announce a new iPad Air refresh. So this is now the 5th generation iPad Air. The design of the thing is basically the same as it was last year, except now it features the M1 processor in it. Which, why? But okay.
Well, it kind of, it's like, okay, what? Unless you need an iPad Pro, why would you get one at this point?
I mean, it's true. yeah, that's basically what the iPad Air is now. The only difference is, and I'm trying to recall now that I'm not sure, but I do not believe that the iPad Air gets ProMotion.
No, it doesn't have that.
It's locked to your 60 hertz refresh rate, which means that like the iPad Pro is still going to be the superior like drawing and creative experience.
Right.
But with the power of the M1, I don't know, maybe it's not that big of a deal.
There's 3 differences between the Pro and the Air now, and that's the Pro has Face ID, whereas the Air has Touch ID and the power button. The
Yep.
Pro has the ProMotion display. So, I mean, that's the biggest one for me. And then the other one the Pro has is a Thunderbolt port, whereas the Air just has a USB-C port. So you get faster data outputs, and you can actually connect it to different monitors and stuff like that.
Yes. And the 12.9-inch Pro does have the full array backlight on it for the, what do they call that? I can't remember.
Mini LED.
It's full array local dimming with mini LEDs. All right. But yes, so with the M1 processor, the iPad Air now supports 5G with the data versions. So, okay. The front camera is now an ultra wide and supports center stage, which is cool, but still makes less sense on the iPad than it does on the Mac, which, interesting detail. It supports the 2nd generation pencil now as well, instead of just the 1st generation, so that's nice. They did specifically call out that a new version of iMovie for the iPad was going to be coming next month, and I was like, it's a weird detail, but
what they really need is just, their Pro software on the Pro iPad.
Yeah. Like, why there isn't a version of, like, I don't know, Logic for the iPad Pro?
Yeah.
I have questions, Apple.
Everyone has those
all
questions.
Want to know. So yeah, this, they made a big deal about this thing being made out of 100% recycled aluminum in the enclosure. The tin in their solder was also recycled, and 100% recycled rare earth elements in the magnets that are used throughout the iPad, which if you've ever taken a piece of magnetic film to an iPad, holy crap, there's a lot of magnets in those things. So okay, that makes a big deal. Now, 5th gen iPad Air, $600, gets you 64 gigs. It's available in 5 different colors, which is nice. Customization is good, and is also shipping on the 18th. And like Landon said, this kind of slots into the spot of basically making the argument, why would you even buy an iPad Pro unless you just really need, 1, the bigger screen, or 2, the, faster refresh rate. Which, like, I have a 10.7-inch iPad Pro, which I bought primarily because it had the pencil. That was why. Now, I know for a fact that the faster refresh rate does help with the drawing experience, makes it feel more responsive. That being said, I bought that thing when it was brand new in like 2017 or something like that. This thing is like 5 years old, and it's feeling it. The iOS is updated, and more importantly, my apps that I use to draw have updated quite a bit since then. And it's gotten to the point where larger drawings with more layers and stuff like that, it's sluggish. And so I was in the market for like, maybe I am going to get myself a new iPad Pro here in the next year or so. But now the iPad Air has the M1 in it and supports both versions of the pencil. And it costs, like, the iPad Pro starts, I think, at is it $700? I thought it was $750.
I think it's $799.
$799. Okay, something, it's in that ballpark. $150 to $200 less. And I'm like, oh, that's awfully tempting to just get that one, because quite frankly, I don't make enough money off of art to actually to spring for the Pro device anyways. So, but yeah, it's a pretty compelling option for folks who don't want just the most basic iPad, which, to be fair, the base version of the iPad is a fantastic tablet for the price. And it also supports the pencil. And honestly, it's almost as good as my 10.5 or my 10.7 inch iPad Pro. It just doesn't have 120 hertz refresh rate screen is the only difference. So, it's a lot of good iPads, basically. The iPad Air was the only one that was feeling a little bit left out. And Now it's not. So good job, Apple.
Yay.
All right. So on to the Mac. And this was the point at which we were like, I don't know, 20 minutes into the event or something like that. And I'm like, these are usually an hour long. So, okay,
Yeah.
what's going on here? Now, it was really funny because just a couple of days before the event actually happened. So, in fact, I found out about this after we would have recorded last week's podcast. So, listener, you wouldn't have heard about this until now. But a rumor came out on Twitter that Apple was going to be introducing not actually like a new Mac Mini. They were going a pro level Mac Mini. They were going to be introducing a brand new model of Mac called the Mac Studio. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. We get into the event. They say, let's talk about the Mac. And I'm like, all right, let's hear about this Mac Studio. And then a big slide pops up and is all like, we're talking about our latest chip, the M1 Ultra. And I'm like, so not the Mac Studio?
Yeah.
I was so confused. That caught me off guard. Now, there's a lot that I could say about this, listener, but if you really want my detailed insights on chip manufacturing and design and stuff, which is to say the insights of an enthusiastic amateur, you can go listen to our podcast that we recorded about the new MacBook Pros the end of last year. But what I'm going to say here is that the M1 Ultra is basically two M1 Maxes in a trench coat.
Yeah.
Just stacked on top of each other. It's a chiplet interconnect, very similar to what we have seen Intel and AMD using over the past few years. They're calling it Ultra Fusion, but it is essentially Infinity Fabric with a 2.5 terabyte per second bandwidth. So Infinity Fabric on Ryzen is good, but it's not that good. So, like, wow, okay. Ultra Fusion is a worse name, though. Just going to say it. Infinity Fabric is way better. Now, because it is two M1 Maxes, it has the full array of I/O and everything as two M1 Maxes, which is insane. But that does mean that it has 800 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth, which is, we talked about how the M1 Max was at 400 was kind of on the same level as like lower end consumer level graphics cards, which is impressive for a CPU. This blows past everything in the consumer GPU range. The only other type of memory interconnect that has the bandwidth of this is HBM2 memory that AMD tried to put on their consumer level graphics cards a few years back, did not work out. It's really only available on high-end, like, data center graphics cards. So, what? Like, why, Apple? Okay, cool.
Because we can, that's why.
Basically, because it also is just two M1 Maxes shoved together, it doubles the M1 Max's amount of supported RAM. Like, it just casually goes from 64 gigs to 128. So, neat.
Onboard RAM, too.
Like, yeah.
So it's even faster.
So, and again, because it is just two M1 Maxes, this means it is a 20-core CPU with 16 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. And it has up to a 64-core GPU with a 32-core neural engine. Now, the 64-core GPU thing may not mean a lot until we have actual performance numbers, but Apple is claiming that because of the way Ultra Fusion works, it presents this to the operating system and to programs in the operating system as a single GPU, not two GPUs that are kind of working in tandem with each other. It's just one GPU. So basically everything the M1 Max could do, this theoretically should be able to do twice as fast.
Yeah.
Just double, just X2, and we're good. So that's kind of insane. And along with that, it gets 2 of the ridiculous media encoder engines that were on the M1 Max. Which, those are the reason that every time everybody's all like, oh man, for video encode, you go with the M1 Max all the way. It's not because the GPU is better than a 3090, at all. The M1 Max is maybe half the speed of a 3090. But the media encoder is so good at that specific task that it absolutely blows the 3090 out of the water. So, okay, now you have 2 of them.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, they said this can do 18 streams of 8K raw video at once and not
That is
stutter.
amazing.
It's ridiculous.
Which they did make sure to point out in the event. This is the only consumer computer that can do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I
Yes.
believe you.
Yes, I believe
Nobody
you too.
nobody else is targeting that very narrow market. You have got that one on wraps, Apple. Good job. But yeah, so speaking of performance at the M1 Ultra, the graphs that they presented are still trash. They're just trash. They're absolutely useless.
Yeah.
It's the best performance per watt. I'm sure we can confidently say that. Best performance per watt in the world. Good job. But that was already true of the M1 Max, so like whatever. That said, they did have a few statements in just like the voice track of what they were saying that I don't know, man. Apple is just really hard to parse their marketing. It's sometimes I'm like, is this real? Are you just saying it because it sounds good? Like, do you just want to hear the words? I don't know. So anyways, a couple of things that caught my mind was they did claim that the M1 Ultra has the same performance as, quote, as the highest GPU available. I'm like, desktop GPUs? Or are you talking about like mobile GPUs? Are you talking the highest end GPU that we could get our hands on? Because that actually turns out to be really hard right now. And so the highest end we could get was a 3070. I don't know, is what it is. Like, I don't know. Just, I did not have, they had a couple of statements of that nature. I was kind of like, what? And they did actually say this one though, multiple times and put it on a slide, as I recall, that the M1 Ultra is the most powerful, most capable chip ever in a personal computer. So, big words, Apple.
Yeah.
Those are big words.
Big words. Now, I'm not saying that that's not true. I am saying I'm skeptical.
Cautiously optimistic.
I wouldn't even go so far as
Yeah.
to say that. I will be stunned if that turns out to be even partially true. I suspect that this is the most powerful, most capable chip ever in a personal computer for encoding and decoding media. Yep, I'm positive that that's the case. But that is such a narrow slice of things that people do with personal computers. I don't know. It remains to be seen. Once this thing gets into people's hands, obviously, we will be able to have some independent testing, and then we'll know. But there was another detail. It supports Thunderbolt 4. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Now, this is not something that they talked about in the event, but I just thought was an interesting side note. Leaked Apple Silicon roadmap from, I believe it was early last year or late 2020, suggested that there was, that we were going to have the M1 Max and that we would have something basically that was 2 of those slapped together. And it suggested that the Mac Pro that we're supposed to get sometime later this year will have 2 of these. So whatever the Mac Pro is going to get is going to be the M1 Ultra X2. Except here's an interesting detail that did come out of the event. They said, in the voice track at least, that they had one last chip to introduce to the M1 family, and then they announced the M1 Ultra.
If you want some proof, I actually took that and did this with it.
We're adding one last chip to the M1 family, and it's going to blow your mind.
There you go.
There it is.
There's the proof.
That was what they said. So that does mean that whatever the Mac Pro is going to be, it is going to be 2 M2 Ultras smashed together.
Or
basically.
That's what I'm like. Okay, so that was the first thing I thought. I was like, wait, what's going in the Pro then? Because
Right.
if it's not an M1 or it's not this exactly, it's like it's interesting.
Yeah. And consistent speculation would lead us to believe that it's not going to be this. It's going to be better than this. So it's an interesting thing. And, just to speculate, some mild speculation, if we were to see this M1 Ultra Pro Plus X2, whatever, the thing that is basically 4 M1 Maxes smashed together, which is presumably going to be pretty similar to what 4 M2 Maxes smashed together would be, we would be seeing something that possibly has 1,600 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth.
Wow.
Which is just like stupid. I don't even.
Wow.
I don't know. Does software know what to do with that? I have no idea. Maybe it does. Maybe developers are smarter than I am. Theoretically, at least 256 gigabytes of RAM support, which would actually be a step down from the current Mac Pro. But I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter when your RAM is at 1,600 gigabytes per second. When your RAM has over a terabyte per second of bandwidth, maybe it doesn't matter. It would presumably have 40 cores and 128 graphics cores, and 64 cores in the neural engine. 4 of these media encoder things, which, like, just again, one of these beat out the dedicated encoding card Apple built for the Mac Pro. How much did that card cost? It was like a $1,500 add-in card for the Mac Pro that you plugged in. What did they call that? The accelerator or something like that? I can't remember. But one of the media encoders on an M1 Max handily beat that thing. So, yeah, 4 of them. Why not? So, yeah, it's an insane kind of thing to think about. But the fact of the matter is the M1 Ultra already kind of outperforms the Mac Pro in some ways. In fact, yeah, I mean, that leads us pretty nicely into the next thing that they talked about after introducing us to the M1 Ultra, which was the Mac Studio. They played a video. I thought this was really dumb. They played this video with a bunch of, creators talking about the M1 Ultra and like how good it was and what it was going to enable for them. And then they just kept dropping the word studio over and over and over, like increasingly throughout the video, and then got to the end. It's all like this, this is the kind of power you want in your studio. And then they announced, it's the Mac Studio. Like, this was big news. It's like, almost Apple. We found out like 2 days ago. Sorry. But yes, they did start off the Mac Studio by saying, like, standing up and saying, it's a new era of performance, connectivity, and modularity for the Mac. And I wrote that down specifically because I wanted to hop back and see, like how good they were following up on those. Now, it has the M1 Ultra in it, so I guess that is a new era of performance. So I guess we'll just give them that. It is essentially a 2x high Mac Mini. The top-down footprint is pretty similar, but it's over twice as tall as a Mac Mini. And half of the device, the top half specifically, is a fan, basically. It like the Mac Mini, it pulls air in from the bottom and then like across the motherboard and all that stuff, and then runs it through a heat sink that is connected to the chip, the CPU, blows it out the back of the device. So that's why Landon compared it to a G4 Cube. It's shorter than a G4 Cube, and it isn't passively cooled, so it won't overheat and kill itself like a G4 Cube, but it is very cube shaped, and it's a desktop Mac. I mean, they're definitely in the ballpark in terms of design.
Yeah.
In terms of connectivity, so this was their second bullet point. It has 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports on the back, has 10 gig Ethernet jack as standard. Like, it comes with a 10 gig port on it, which is great. It has 2 USB-A ports, which is nice to see those are still there, and an HDMI port and a headphone jack, which is the quote-unquote high impedance one, basically probably the same one as from the new MacBook Pros, which from what I understand is good. Like, better than average for headphone jacks on devices, but if you're a real high-end audio listener with really hungry headphones, you're probably still going to need to use an external DAC. And amp, sorry, that you have to use the amp too. That's what matters here. Sorry. Anyways, it does have Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5, so all good. And, and in a move that I'm sure had Johnny Ive rolling over in his grave, he's not dead, but he probably found a grave to pull somersaults in at this. It has 2 USB-C ports and an SD card slot on the front.
Mm-hmm.
Front I/O. Woo-hoo-hoo. Wow, spicy.
That's one of my favorite features, honestly.
It's been a while, Apple. Like,
Yeah.
holy
Yeah.
cow. Like, as a person who has a bunch of old Macs just sitting right here. In fact, let's go ahead. That's an iMac from 2007. There's no front I/O on that. It's a G4 back there from, gosh, that would have been like 2004. There's no front I/O on that. I'm actually sitting next to the case of a Power Mac G5 that had a FireWire port, a headphone jack, and a USB port on the front. Very impressive. But actually, so they've finally gotten back to the same quality of front I/O as they had on this. Wow, that's actually kind of depressing. So, one interesting detail about that front I/O actually is that with the M1 Max, the 2 USB-C ports are just USB-C ports, which is nice. We take those. With the M1 Ultra, they're Thunderbolt 4. Because apparently the thing is just absolutely packed with I/O options on the CPU. So that is an interesting detail for you if you weren't paying attention. The base model of this thing comes with an M1 Max. You can upgrade to the M1 Ultra. Obviously, costs more money to do so. So, in terms of like performance, we've already talked about how Apple's graphs are terrible and they don't really give us data points to work with, which is super obnoxious. And we do kind of just have to wait for independent testing. But the thing that they did say about the Mac Studio is that it will support 4 XDR displays, like their pro level XDR displays. You can plug in 4 of those and a 4K TV, run all of them simultaneously. So that's a lot of pixels. It's a bunch. So that's pretty darn good for if you're putting this thing in a studio. I mean, that is where it makes the most sense, if we're honest, especially like in a music studio where you want the thing just kind of tucked away behind your giant bank of monitors that you're using for all of your software. And then you have a TV up top. That's how the guys sitting behind you on the couch are able to see what's going on. That's actually really smart, Apple. Like, you're targeting a customer base and giving them exactly what they want. Holy cow.
Even the way they had the picture of it outlined was 4 monitors right there in front of the person and then a TV up above. Like, brilliant.
Yep. It's exactly what recording studio folks wanted, and I'm sure many of them were just absolutely over the moon. Actually, from what I have seen, anybody working in Hollywood would absolutely be over the moon with this, because in the editing room for big Hollywood productions and stuff like that, that's what it looks like. You've got a dude sitting at a computer with a big old bank of monitors in front of him that has like a timeline and video clips and everything just stretched out as far as they can go. And they are just moving through that as fast as can be. And then the actual preview of the edit is on a TV up above their head so that the director and producers and stuff like that sitting behind them can see it. Apple has they've targeted an audience and delivered them the perfect computer. And so, yeah, they're quoting the performance metrics that really matter to these folks that are probably, some of them, just now getting around to replacing their trash cans. So, by which I mean the 2013 Mac Pro, in case that wasn't clear, listener. Sorry. I just assume everybody knows that it was a trash can. Anyways. So yeah, that's the Mac Studio. It's pretty cool. It's shipping starting the 18th. And I will point out that nothing about this computer is modular. They said modularity right at the top.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
The thing that I've heard some people justify, they're not justifying it, but the way that they think Apple can justify it is because it's a standalone desktop, not attached to a monitor. That's quote unquote modular. So you can technically put your own monitor with it. I don't know. That is
probably what Apple thinks modularity means. I'm here to tell you, listener, it's not. Modularity means you can take the pieces out of it and put them somewhere else and put other pieces in That's modular.
Yeah,
That's not
like,
what the Mac Studio is.
I did re-listen to that part of the thing earlier today just to clarify what they said, and they didn't even say that. They said a modular. Oh, what word did they use? Basically modular desktop and monitor. They didn't say like together. They said modular
you're
desktop and a separate monitor.
Yeah,
so
you're
it's
right.
like, okay, you can't even get away with that anymore.
My gosh. So yes, to Apple, modularity means being able to plug in your own monitor.
Basically.
Wow. Okay, that's fair. That tracks, actually. So speaking about monitors, let's talk about the Studio Display, which makes its glorious return. I just want to say return because this is not the first time they've sold a monitor called the Studio Display. I have a closet full of them. It's a problem, if we're honest. Anyways, so this thing has what I would call the same basic display design as the 24-inch iMac, though it is larger. Just meaning that it has like a really simple stand with a really thin piece of aluminum on the front of it, and that's your entire unit. So there you go. The stand that it comes with is tilt only. It has like a, what do they say, like 25 degrees of tilt or something like that, which is kind of useless, if I'm honest. And you can also order it with a VESA mount, which, okay. And there is a height adjustable stand available as well. That one costs an extra $400, I think. No, 300. No, 400. Yeah, it was for an extra $400. So that's kind of dumb. That echoes very much the $1,000 stand for the Pro Display XDR. And I think it's fair to say anybody buying this thing, they're probably just going to order it with the VESA mount. Now, it's worth noting that these stands are not interchangeable. Unlike previous versions of the iMac, you cannot buy this thing with the stand, order a separate VESA mount, and then swap the two out. They're built in. You order it with the one you want, and you're stuck with it. Which means, if, listener, you are going to buy this thing, order it with the VESA mount. Get literally any other stand, put it on an arm on the back of your desk for $20 from Amazon. There are so many other ways to do that. Do not settle for Apple's craptacular stands. I don't care how pretty they are. I don't care that, it's one finger up and down. It's the only time you got away with that, Apple, was the G4 iMac, and I am sick and tired of you claiming that being able to one finger adjust a stand is something that is like worth $400 or $500. It just isn't. It isn't. So anyways, listener, just get the VESA mount if you're going to buy one of these at all. Now, whether or not you should buy one is going to depend on, a lot of what I say next. So here's the specs. First of all, it's 27 inches. It is a 5K display, which means that it's basically the same display panel as was in the 27-inch iMac. And that one LG monitor from a few years back that Apple was actually selling on their store until just recently. Wonder what they replaced it with. It does include an anti-reflective coating on it, so that's nice. Not like shiny, glossy, obnoxious glass like the 27-inch iMac was. And they do have the nano texture glass as an option, meaning that you can get that really nice matte finish to it that is available with the Pro Display XDR, or was available on the iMac Pro before they discontinued it. It will do 600 nits of peak brightness, which is a little bit brighter than the old iMac or the old LG display. It does support the P3 wide color gamut. Like, percentage of coverage, please, Apple. You really can't just... It's going to be like 99%-ish, 99+% coverage of the P3 color gamut. But they couldn't just say that. Anyways, kind of annoys me. And here's a fun detail. It has an A13 Bionic chip in it.
Yeah.
So that's a thing that happened and exists for reasons. It has the same front-facing camera on it as the iPad. Finally, Apple did what we've been saying this whole time and just took the FaceTime camera from their phones or iPads and put it into a computer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Why did this take so long? But that does mean that because all of the iPads now have the ultra-wide front-facing camera that supports center display, it supports center display or center. Wait, center. Is that what it's called? Center display?
No,
I can't
but
find
think
where
of
I
what
wrote
it is.
center stage. Center
There it
stage.
is.
I'm just like, I'm outrunning my notes here, listener. That's. It does also have the 3 mic array and 6 speaker sound system that you're going to find in the 24-inch iMac. That includes the force canceling woofer dealio that they had going on in their latest laptops. Which means that in terms of audio in a very thin device, this thing's going to have great sound. And the mics, they're better than anything you need for a Zoom call or anything like that. They're actually pretty darn good. So very impressive. That does mean it supports spatial audio, which is like, I guess cool. I don't know why, but sure. Yeah. Nifty. It supports spatial audio. So you can connect the thing obviously via Thunderbolt because that's how you connect everything. And it does include a USB-C hub, which has 3 ports on it, which is, from what I understand, a slight improvement over I think it was just 2 ports on the LG version of this display. And I just want to make that kind of clear. The 5K, whatever ultrafine, I think 5K ultrafine display from LG that Apple was selling until just recently, in terms of the display itself, is basically the exact same as this, except it's not quite as bright. But all of the other specs and performance metrics are basically the same, and the feature set is similar, though I don't believe the LG display had either speakers or a camera in it. It was just a display with a USB hub on it. So, worth noting. And they didn't actually say what the A13 was doing. Presumably it is managing the spatial audio. It's doing the image signal processing for the camera and the mics and the speakers, or the image signal processing for the camera, the signal processing for the speakers and the mics, all that stuff. I assume that's what it's doing and is basically going to help like offload that from the computer itself. Okay. I don't know why you didn't say that in the event, Apple, but I guess. Justify the existence of the A13. Now, I think it's worth noting all of that, though. Like the speakers, the fact that the A13 is doing image signal processing on the camera, the fact that the camera does have center stage on it, the mic array that is very nice. It's worth noting all of those things over something like the 5G ultrafine or the 5G, the 5K ultrafine that this display is essentially replacing, because it costs $1,600 at its starting price. So that's like $700 more than the LG started at, I think. Or $700 more than the LG was selling for recently. And 100 nits of extra brightness is not worth $700. So what you need to think about, whether you buy this or not, is whether you really want like the camera, the speakers, the mics and stuff like that. Are you going to use those things a lot? And do you need good ones built into your monitor? If so, $1,600 is maybe okay. But I just feel like that's a very small use case, like small group that should be buying this monitor. I feel like most of the people who will end up buying it are just going to buy it because it's what Apple makes. And they're fanboys and they just can't get over it. Look, I say this as a person who gutted a G5 to put his gaming PC in it. Like, this isn't... I get what the fanboys want and why they feel the way they do, but just because Apple put their badge on a thing doesn't automatically make it the best decision for you to purchase it. So there you go.
The people
That's
that should
the
be
Studio
purchasing
display.
this are the people that are getting a Mac Studio that don't already have a monitor and they don't want to spend for the XDR display.
Yeah. Well, I would even go so far as to say, though, that if you don't already have a monitor, the only reason you should buy this even with your Mac Studio is if you also don't already have a good webcam or a good mic. Like, if you are missing a good webcam and a good mic for your computer, you don't need professional level quality, but you do need something that's good because you're like a lawyer and you're appearing in court digitally these days, which I don't know if that's still happening, but it wouldn't surprise me if it is. Then yeah, you you may very well, it might be worth springing for this for you because it includes a good webcam with a good mic and supposedly good speakers. So yeah, there's definitely some people that should be getting this. I just feel like anybody working in a studio, you probably already have monitors that are better than this or as good as this in terms of being a monitor. And like most of the time, you are going to hook it up to external audio gear and video gear anyways.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like the $1,600 is justified for most people. But
the other person,
okay.
I think that could not justify it, but the other person that could potentially order this is the one that has had an iMac Pro that wants to replace that. And I actually, just for fun, added the base of everything that you would be replacing an iMac Pro with the Mac Studio, the Studio Display, and because the iMac Pro came with a keyboard and mouse, I put those in there as well. And
yes, which actually there's news about those too.
Yeah, but if you're getting all that, so you're getting a base model Mac Studio, it has the M1 Max chip, 32 gigs of RAM and whatnot, the Studio Display without all the extra stuff on it, the new Magic Keyboard and Magic Mouse, which I don't recommend the Magic Mouse, but if you're getting it, it's there.
Get the trackpad. Don't get the mouse.
Your total cost is $4,168.72. That's from Apple, which is almost $1,000 cheaper than the iMac Pro started at, and this is like probably 5 times better than the base model iMac Pro.
Oh, in terms of performance, at least, yeah.
Yeah, and you're getting a better display, a way better computer,
similar display.
Yeah,
but the computer is absolutely going to smash the iMac Pro. Yeah,
So I mean that
absolutely smash.
So
it.
for those that have had the iMac Studio basically since it came out and are wanting something new, this is what you would get. You'd probably want the Mac Studio, and you'd want the Studio Display because that's kind of what this replaces in Apple's computer lineup.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's true. And I feel like, the display is good. Like, I'm not going to say it's not a good display. It is. Even great in some ways. Is it worth $1,600? That's where I run into issues with it, especially since, honestly, for a lot of people, it doesn't become a great display until you put the nano texture glass on it, and that's a $300 option. So, but with that being the case, there's definitely going to be some folks who want it. I just feel like a lot of people, like the target audience for the Mac Studio, I feel like they're probably not going to be interested. I feel like the people that are going to end up with the Studio Display are the folks that, like you said, were using a high-end iMac until recently to do their professional creative work on. They're looking for an upgrade. The Mac Studio looks very appealing, and they're like, I don't want to go through the hassle of having to go find another good monitor, so I'll just get this one because it's coming from Apple. I know they're from factory display calibration is fantastic. I know that their displays are extremely consistent and held to a very high standard. Does it cost a lot more than I need because I'm getting an extraneous pair of speakers and an A13 Bionic in it for some reason? Yes. But am I willing to eat the cost? Okay, that's fair. I would still say get it with the VESA mount, put it on your own stand. Now, I did just realize I forgot to mention with the Mac Studio, the price. I didn't actually say the price. So the M1 Max version of it starts at $2,000 for 32 gigs of RAM and a 512 gig SSD. The M1 Ultra version of it starts at $4,000 with 64 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD. So the M1 Ultra just comes with a whack ton more RAM out the gate. That makes the upgrade price a little bit less obnoxious. But yeah. So if you're in the market and you're looking at this and you are, like you said, coming from something like an iMac Pro, starting price of $2,000 is actually really good.
Yeah. And I mean, you max this thing out with, and that includes 8 terabytes of SSD space, which costs $2,200 to upgrade, by the way. The max price on this thing is still only like $8,000, which is cheaper than the lowest end Mac Pro, and it will outperform that thing wildly amazing. Like, it's so much better than the base model Mac Pro.
And here's the best part of that. The base model Mac Pro, I think, comes with 32 gigs of RAM and a 512 gigabyte hard drive.
Yeah.
Maxed out, the Mac Studio will have 128 gigs of RAM and an 8 terabyte SSD, which is stupid. Anybody who's buying a Mac Pro right now, don't. What are you doing? Stop.
Don't buy any version of the Mac Pro at this point. If you absolutely have to have a new computer to replace your current Mac Pro for some reason, get the Studio. If you can wait,
it's better.
Wait.
Yes, because you wait till the end of this year and we'll see what the new Mac Pro looks like. I do feel like there's a lot of people, individual users or like small like groups or small companies, small studios, effects companies and stuff like that are just working with a small staff. I feel like a lot of your needs, that's the Mac Studio. That's what you want. You needed the Mac Pro before. I don't think you will anymore. I think the Mac Pro becomes like I don't even know, a big Hollywood production type situation, or like the kind of thing that you dock in a rack for supercomputer performance when you put a whole bunch of them together. That's where we're cruising here.
Like,
at least how it looks to me.
Yeah, I was watching MKBHD's video on the event. And I don't know if it was on his main video or if it was his studio channel video. Either way, they talk about how they've got, I think, 4 Mac Pro computers in their studio, and they're not the highest end. They're like around the 16 to 20 grand a piece computers. They're really, really good computers. But he was even saying, he's like, I'm gonna wait for the Mac Pro, but he even said, do I need it? I mean, I could get 4 or 5 of these, and they're better than what I've already got. And it's true. I mean, and that's what he would need. He doesn't need with what he does. He doesn't really need the Pro, but he's gonna wait because, I mean, it's him. He wants the highest end of whatever he can get. But it's like he was even saying, I almost can't justify getting something besides this because it's made for, like, his use case is exactly what this is made for. A high quality, high end YouTuber. I mean, like, he's definitely above and beyond what most YouTube people do because he records in 8K and whatever. But
but you know what? The M1 Ultra will handle it.
Yes, it will handle it very well. I mean, the M1 Max will handle that very well.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, he replaced an iMac Pro that he used to take with him to events to do videos with the MacBook Pro because the M1 Max is better than that. So
it's just that good.
Yeah. So it's like, even he is like, I almost can't justify not getting this because it's more than enough. And that's crazy.
It is a really, weird but exciting time to be into Macs because Linus Sebastian of Linus Tech Tips fame famously hates Apple.
Yes.
He just does not like them, to the point where a lot of his opinions I call like, you're just biased, dude. Look at it a little bit more objectively. Over the past few years, he's been getting better at that as he's hired staff that are a little bit more objective than him. And also as Apple has finally stopped like taking steaming dumps all over the Mac line. And after the event, he tweeted out, it was all like, man, don't you hate it when you have to use Mac OS because Apple keeps releasing the best hardware? And I'm like, this awesome. Is telling. So yeah, it's a really cool computer. The Studio Display goes along with it to kind of, like you said, Landon, to kind of slot into that iMac Pro, like as a full package. You get the Studio with the Studio Display that replaces the iMac Pro very effectively. So like, I think it's fair to say at this point, listener, the iMac Pro has been discontinued and it's not coming back. In fact, rumors since the event suggest we're not going to see a larger iMac at all. The iMac exists for the lifestyle consumer market. It will be multicolored, 24-inch fun, but not professional. And the professional iMac is just gone, which actually, that was kind of the whole point of the iMac originally. So I'm not actually disappointed by that. I'm totally fine with it.
I mean, the iMac Pro only was a thing because so many people hated the Trash Can Pro and they wanted something, and Apple had to get something out before they announced the new Mac Pro. So they gave us that, and it was vastly better than the Trash Can. So that's what they did.
The iMac Pro was the beginning of the apology.
Yeah.
The iMac Pro was where Apple finally admitted, we done screwed up, and we have been doing wrong by you Mac users for years now. Here's the iMac Pro. Please don't eat us. We're going to turn this around. I was skeptical when the iMac Pro came out, but they have in fact turned it around, and they have finished turning the ship basically all the way around. Pretty much every Apple computer, I'm like, there's a good version of all of these, and they've discontinued all the crap. So, hey, it's nice to be in this position. Speaking of another nice thing that Apple did for us, silver and black options for their peripherals. That was another thing they just kind of casually announced at the end of the studio display thing before they finished the event. And they're like, yeah, it turns out you can get it with peripherals that are, have black keys, but a silver aluminum body. And I'm like, as somebody who really hates having to scrub all of my greasy fingerprints off of my white keyboard, freaking hate that. Whereas my MacBook Pro keyboard, which had black keys, never had to worry about that because it's black. Doesn't show up nearly as much.
Yeah, before the only way you could get any of these peripherals is if you bought a Pro, like an iMac Pro or a Mac Pro.
Yep.
And then you could get the black keyboard, but other than that, you couldn't get it. Now it's just an option.
Yeah, you could just buy it. Like, it's okay. I freaking love that. Thank you very much, Apple. So, at the very end of all of this, they said that, they were talking about their transition to Apple Silicon and made the statement that there's just one more product to go, the Mac Pro. But that is for another day. At which point I slammed my fists onto my desk and said, "Oh, shut up, John," because that was rude. Just tell us.
It was. Now, my question is, do you think they're going to do kind of what they did before and announce something at WWDC and then have it come out at the end of the year? Or do you think they're going to have an own event for the Mac Pro?
That would be the best case scenario, but I kind of don't see that happening because of all of the things that were rumored for this event that did not land.
That's true.
And that's the thing, listener. We talked about this, last episode. I had this big list of expectations for this event. What I got was the quote unquote Mac Mini Pro. That's what the Mac Studio is. Let's be honest. It's basically a Pro Mac Mini. Okay, awesome. We got that. We did not get the M2 powered MacBook Pro. We did not get the redesigned multicolored MacBook Air. And we did not get... I guess there were rumors of a larger Pro iMac, but it turns out that a lot of those probably were just the studio display.
Yeah.
Because they used the same display panel as the previous iMac, so that was probably where people got confused on the supply chain. So, yeah, we're still missing these things, and I want to see them, especially since rumors also since the event suggest that the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the M2 chip in it is going to be called the MacBook.
Thank you.
Apple's going to call it the MacBook.
Thank you, Apple.
Anyways, so yeah, it was an interesting event. I would love if they were to at least tease something at WWDC, like maybe announce some hardware, announce the MacBook, announce new MacBook Airs, whatever, and then tease the Mac Pro. I would love that. Remains to be seen. They might do it. They might not.
Yeah. Now, I will say, there was one thing that disappointed me in this event. And it's I get why they did it, kind of, but I really was hoping for a version of this with an M1 Pro that would have cost around $1,700, $1,800, and that would have, I could justify almost that one. At $2,000, it's
just a little bit
it's
much.
just barely too high for me to be like, okay, I think I can get that right now, because I desperately want this. I don't really need it, listener. I'm going to say that right now. I don't even need one with the M1 Pro fully. The only thing that would be beneficial to me is a bigger hard drive, because the Mac Mini that I got the base model hard drive at 128 gigs because I wanted to increase the RAM. And at the Apple's RAM cost and hard drive cost are ridiculous. So
they continue to be stupid. Yes.
So I upgraded the RAM because that would be more beneficial to my use case. But at the moment, I've got the i7, I've got 32 gigs of RAM. And most of what I do is fine for this computer. But there are some cases where I still have to wait about 10 to 15 minutes to render things, and I'd rather have that done a little quicker. So if I could get an M1 Pro, because I don't need the Max, because the difference between the Pro and the Max is the higher GPU cores. I don't need that. I'm not doing video. So if I could have got the Pro with this, oh man, that'd be amazing. But no, they did not do a Pro version of this device.
Now, it's worth noting that a higher end version of the Mac Mini could still be coming, because the Mac Mini that we currently have, the M1, it's low end. That replaced the low end Intel versions, and they're still selling Intel versions of the Mac Mini that have more powerful processors in them, and they could pretty easily just take all of those out and slot the M1 Pro right in there.
Yeah, like my version of the Mac Mini is still available. And what's funny is, if I priced it out the other day, if I bought exactly what I have right now from Apple, it's $1,800. So if they put an M1 Pro for $1,800, please.
There you go. Yep. So yeah, they could still do that, but that did not happen. We had the rumors of the Pro Mac Mini. Apparently those rumors were about the Mac Studio. And we had rumors about a new Pro iMac. Turns out those were just about the display. So, yeah, that's where we're at. But I don't know. Good time to be an Apple consumer.
Oh, yeah.
For their Macs, anyways.
Oh, yeah.
There was one rumor that came out after the event that is not part of the event, not anything to do with Mac coverage either. Just wanted to mention, listener, before I finished off my Apple news for this week, because I just want to let you know that for iPhone consumers, things might be getting worse. Ming-Chi Kuo is a stellar leaker of information related to Apple, has been for years, extremely reliable in his guesses. He is suggesting that the iPhone 14 Pro is going to be the only one that features the A16 processor, that the standard versions are going to retain the A15. So that's a giant turd in a flaming bag.
Yeah.
Not happy about that.
Well, they're going to be the A15X or whatever they used to put in their iPads.
Yeah.
That'll be what it is. Which is still, Apple, if you do this, you're going to get so much crap from everybody.
Don't do it. Like, that's the reason that your phones are awesome, is that you're distinguishing the two by having more features in the Pro in terms of like the camera or the display or stuff like that. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But putting the same chip in both means that when you buy a brand new phone from Apple in this year, they're all going to get software updates for the same amount of time. And that is your strong suit, Apple. That is where you're ahead of Android in a way that, quite frankly, it looks like they're never going to catch up. Like, they're trying, they're making progress, but holy crap, it is slow. So, like, come on, don't throw that wrench in there, Apple. Don't do it. Don't you dare. Just don't. Anyways, so that's all of my Apple news.
Ooh, here's one plot twist. He's wrong. He's wrong. The regular phones are going to get the 16. The Pros are going to get the M1.
That would be the dumbest and simultaneously most Apple thing
that
could possibly happen.
You heard it here first. If this happens,
You heard it here.
I need something. I win everything.
Oh my gosh, that would be awful and hilarious at the same time.
And that'll be the first iPhone with a Thunderbolt port.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would though. It would.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Jeez Louise. Well, there you go, listener. You heard it here first. Coverage of the peak performance event we're calling this year's iPhones.
Calling it right here. Good stuff. If you had to rate the event, I usually ask this to you. 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. What would you rate it?
I give this one a good 7. I feel like the event itself was pretty high quality. They had a good amount of things to talk about. They didn't dwell on anything overly long or anything like that. The stuff that came out of the event, pretty good, solid. Not going to complain about most of it. I do wish they would fix their freaking graphs, and I was really hoping for multicolored MacBook Airs. But other than that, pretty solid event.
Good. You'd probably catch that, listener, if you didn't see it. If you want to see the event and haven't seen it, you can probably catch it anywhere or highlights of that.
Oh, yeah.
So.
It's on YouTube and whatever.
All right. Well, that's everything Caleb's got for that. We'll go ahead and move on over to Landon. Landon, you got some general tech news you wanted to talk about?
I do. I've got one piece of general tech news, and it's really not important, but I thought it was interesting. And I know Caleb will get a kick out of this. He might even have noticed if he's watching this show. I don't know. Are you watching the new Star Trek Picard show?
No, I have not been. Look, listener, if you have paid any attention at all to any of our YouTube channels or me on social media at all, you're aware I'm a gigantic Trekkie.
Mm-hmm.
But big qualification there. The thing I like about Star Trek is optimistic, kind of utopian sci-fi idealism. That's what I go to Star Trek for. And that has not been the case in any of the new Star Trek, and so I basically haven't watched anything that has aired since Discovery started. So no, I have not been watching Picard at all.
Gotcha.
Well, I wanted to mention that I saw this in an article on Android Police that they say in the current season, the second episode, there is what appears to be, they have no confirmation of this, but it appears to be a Galaxy Z Fold device of some sort. Now, obviously, this thing is in some sort of case to make it look more Star Trek-y-ish, and it's not something that they're actually, using as a phone or anything like that. It's kind of, from what it looked like, it's on a table, and they're just kind of trying to get something out of it or something. I don't know. I didn't watch it, obviously, but it's something along those lines. But it looked...
Oh, man.
The only reason they could tell is the case had a little a break in the middle of it, and then the screen itself, it looked like there was some sort of crease in the display.
Crease in the middle.
Because of the lighting on it. So, listener, if you are watching this show, keep an eye out or go back and rewatch this episode and see what you think. Let us know if you think this is a Galaxy Z Fold or if it's just something random, Either way, I find it rather interesting that a phone that is now available is supposed to be in a show based, very far in the future.
Yeah, a couple 100 years in the future. Yep.
I mean, maybe, again, I haven't watched this, but maybe it's we found this antique device, this ancient thing from way back when. Let's try and see if it still works. It probably wouldn't because it's Android.
That's
who knows?
That's about the only hope that they could have for that not absolutely bugging the snot out of me as if it was supposed to be some kind of an antique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Listener, this is me ranting about Star Trek. So it's a very niche audience, but I got to get this off my chest. Star Trek has been heralded or has been credited with inspiring the creators of multiple different technologies, up to and including stuff like smartphones and tablets that we use today. You can go back to Star Trek: The Next Generation and see basically iPads that they're running around with in the early 90s before smartphones as we know them were even a twinkle in anybody's eye. So Star Trek always kind of heralded progression in technology like that. in a way that was frankly pretty impressive, to the extent that crap like hypo sprays kind of exist now. And why do they exist? Because some researcher was inspired by an episode of Star Trek they saw as a kid, and then they went to go get their doctorate and went, why can't we have that, actually? And there you go. The reason that works is because Star Trek wasn't building their props out of existing pieces of technology. You know? Like, you're not going to inspire the next generation by putting smartphones into your show. Smartphones are all around us. So that's regression in terms of the quality of Star Trek. I'm just going to go ahead and say.
Yeah. Again,
Anyways,
I don't
over.
know. I don't know the plot point behind this, and they didn't mention it in the article for fear of spoilers. So I understand that. So I can't give any, behind the scenes on why this device is potentially in there. So just so you know, there may be one. We don't know why, but it's there. So there you go. That is my general tech news for this week.
Excellent.
Hey, that's pretty good. General tech in the future. Kind of. Anyway, I'm not going to think about it. I'm on too much cold medicine, so that wouldn't be good. So let's talk a little bit about Microsoft, shall we? They do things. They're updating Windows 11 with many different features. I'm just going to kind of go over. They're adding a better file exploring system in Windows 11. So a lot of people are definitely enjoying that on there.
Like, you don't know it, but tabs in your file explorer is going to change your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you believe it?
Speaking as a Mac user, it changed mine.
Let's be real. They are a little inspired by that, I guess.
Well, everybody's inspired by Linux, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we're going to go dive a little bit more into some gaming, actually. And on this here, your user, if you're one of the people that were able to get a Valve Steam Deck, you can now install Windows 10 on your Valve Steam Deck.
Yeah.
But there's a little caveats to this that I figured I'd let you know. So, one, the limitation is you cannot duo boot the Steam OS as well as Windows 10. You either have Windows 10 or the Steam OS. Two,
which is a bummer.
Yeah, it is a bummer. But two, there is no AMD has not put out a good audio driver for this for Windows 10 on the Steam Deck. So it does have the Bluetooth, it does have the USB-C, so it has those drivers, but for the audio, it doesn't have it just yet, as of me researching this. So I'm sure it'll be here soon. But let's talk about why would you want to do this? Well, some people would rather use Windows 10 on there, I guess.
Yeah.
More.
It's really interesting because the idea would be, better game compatibility, because it's running on Windows instead of Linux. That being said, I've seen a couple of early videos that have featured Windows running on the Steam Deck, and everything I have seen so far, it actually looks like, generally speaking, if the game was validated by Valve to run well on the Steam Deck, it's gonna run better on Linux than it will on Windows. So I mean, kudos to the developers behind Proton and Vulkan and all of the stuff that they're using in order to make this work. But honestly, it might be worth just sticking with Linux for now. The main advantage I would see to actually going with the Windows version is so that you can emulate games, which isn't really a thing. You can't buy it through Steam, it's kind of hard to get onto the Steam Deck via the Steam OS. But if you're in Windows, then you can use any emulator or anything you want.
Yeah.
But navigating inside of Windows it works, but it's not as intuitive or smooth as it is on Steam OS. And the games that are validated for Steam OS apparently just work better on Steam OS than they do on Windows, at least on this hardware. Because, it is worth being said, this is a custom SoC that Valve developed with AMD. So, they know how to optimize for it better than anybody else.
Right. So, definitely take a look at that.
I feel like I feel like probably the best advice is if you want to play around with Windows on your Steam Deck, it's fair, but maybe wait until you can dual boot between the two so that you can have both.
Yeah.
Just that's probably the best advice.
Yeah, and that's coming, I'm sure. I don't know how soon, but a lot of people have been saying that's what they want. I do know, sorry, when you do get the Steam Deck, there are some games that throw red flags. Number one, if you try to play Destiny 2 on the Steam Deck, Bungie will ban you.
Yeah, the anti-cheat stuff is not working with SteamOS at all. So you pretty much have to play those on Windows.
So yeah, there's a lot of things like that. So maybe that's one perk at the moment for Windows 10. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a few. And if you want to do anything that is like, uses Xbox services and stuff like that isn't just streaming the game through a web browser, then yeah, you pretty much have to do it in Windows. And any game that uses any kind of Windows-based anti-cheat, you have to play those in Windows. You can't play those on the Steam Deck. The game just won't let you. So yeah, like there's definitely a reason to want it, but I feel like just hold off. Wait until you can dual boot, then you can play your Windows games over in Windows and play everything else over in Steam if it works better. You can have both, best of both worlds. That's what I want.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and let's move on. Let's talk about March updates. Couldn't tell you about last week because we weren't here, but updates for Windows as well as Xbox have hit. So if you do have a PC, just know there's some updates on the March updates for your Windows, but also on Xbox. A couple things I wanted to mention for the Xbox. One is the quick resume feature. You can now pin your games on the quick resume. What does this mean? What happened before was if you had a quick resume game and you went to another game and you had so many, it would drop off an older quick resume to bring up a newer quick resume. So if you had like 5 games in queue, it would drop, and then you loaded a 6th, that would drop off the most one you haven't loaded. But you can now say, okay, I always want this game, say Halo, to have the quick resume, no matter what, even if I've played other games. So you can now say, I want these to always be in my queue for that, which is really nice if that's what you're expecting. If you go through a lot of games like that. Number 2, they also introduced a new update for the controller. The new Xbox Series X and S controller, you can now remap the share button to whatever you want to do. So if you don't want to do a share or anything, so you can either push it down once and let go, or hold it for 3 seconds and then let go. It gives you 2 different options. So if you wanted to do a quick button instead of sharing, you could say, bring up my friends list and hit that, or a party or something like that. So gives you the
what
option.
if I don't have any friends? That's
what I'm saying. That was just an option. So you could bring it up whenever you want. You can bring up to your non-friends list or people you've blocked.
My enemies list.
My enemies list. That's awesome. Let's see. And then it also did a Xbox update that introduces a new audio setup wizard for HDMI devices, which can help users choose the best possible setting for their audio installation. So just better for your setup if you either go through your HDMI and how you want to have it compressed or Dolby or whatever. It has a better optimization for you on there. So definitely take a look at that. Let's actually talk about Halo, since, mentioned it a little bit. Halo Infinite, their new Season 2 is coming out, finally. I guess this was a long Season 1. Everyone's a little more excited about this. The downside is they did promise to have co-op campaign, but they said it's not going to be at the launch of this. It will come later in this Season 2. They said they're still trying to... I guess the issue they've been having is the split screen, and they didn't really mention this, but they did say on older consoles, so Xbox One, they're having issues with the split screen, and so they can't release it to everybody. And I'm assuming, because obviously they want to have it on the original Xbox, which has a lot less RAM and a lot less everything. So they want to make sure it's functional on that. It is what I'm assuming, and when I read everything, that's what they're saying. So, but it is a 4. They did confirm that it's 2-player split screen or 4-player co-op on the campaign, which would be so much fun. That would be I think so. I went through and I beat it on Legendary because I hate myself, but it was fun. Those ones, you know, I am older, but I'm like, that one I got to continue the Legendary thing because I always did for all the games. So
I mean, you gotta. If you've been doing it this whole time, you gotta keep going.
Speaking of what, Elden Ring, you know, no,
you're gonna be like 80 years old and Halo double, triple infinite or something like that's gonna come out, and you're gonna be like, oh, gotta get the Legendary run. Oh.
Right. I'll push it, but man, there were some times I sat there and I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And then somehow some streak of luck, just awesome. I beat it. Now move on. But so, dear listener, the new season 2 is coming. Like I said, it won't have that co-op campaign, which sucks because I know there's a lot of people waiting for that to play with their friends because that's how they always played the campaign, was with friends. And, you know, so we do have that. One thing I did want to mention this last week, Blizzard, you know, we talk about them. Let's talk about something good. I feel is good, right?
We hope it's good.
We hope it's good. So they said that there is now signups for the beta for Overwatch 2 that is coming out in April.
For the multiplayer.
For the PvP.
They've said that the way that they're able to bring this to us faster than they otherwise would is because they're decoupling the PvP from the PvE. And I'm sitting here like, PvE was the reason I wanted this. Like, frickin', if you're just gonna give me more PvP, just update the original game, you dorks. Anyways.
But didn't they say that it's a new engine? It's not the same engine, though?
It's a refreshed version of the engine. Like, it is new, but they built it off of the old one. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that if you're not going to add PvE to the game, it's not actually a sequel. It's just an update. Except, I don't know, they're probably going to make the argument, oh yeah, but now we're doing 5v5 instead of 6v6. And I'm just like, you could have freaking changed that in the, you could have changed that in the live game. There's nothing that you're doing here that you could not have done in Overwatch. And I don't know.
You think it'll be free if they release it and say the PvP is free, but if you want the PvE, you have to pay for it?
They might do that. But I suspect
exactly
what's going to
did.
happen. Yeah, what's going to happen is they're going to release the PvP first, and then a year or two later, hopefully, we'll get PvE. But I feel like that has just dropped in their priority level a lot, and that frustrates me because, like, I don't know. I like the characters. I like the lore. I'm interested. Freaking heck, Blizzard.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yes, at least they are giving us something, and it will include new characters, new maps, new game modes. Like, all of this stuff will be in the beta. And so I signed up for it, obviously, because I'm like, honestly, they haven't released any interesting new content in Overwatch in like,
while,
I don't know, a year and a half or something like that. It's been ages.
Yeah.
Who even was the last new character? I can't remember. It's been so long.
Was it Ash?
No, it wasn't Ash. There was somebody after Ash.
Or was it not Orisa, the other robot lady shoots stuff from her fingers.
Oh yeah, Echo. Yeah, it might have been Echo. I think you're right.
Might have been her.
I think you're right. Oh gosh, that's been so long ago.
I think
she
I don't
was
know.
in
I
the
think
game for the entirety of last year's professional scene. I know that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yep. I think
that's yep.
I think it should be good. I mean, they'll still have, like, from what they said years ago when they announced Overwatch 2, they said everything will be the same. So you still have your PvE stuff, you know, your season of whatever it is. But I think from that on they can add to it. I mean, well, I don't know. This whole one tank thing is going to be totally different, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, what they said years ago when they announced it was before they decided to go 5v5.
True.
And back then they were saying, oh yeah, all of the changes we make to Overwatch 2 for PvP, we're going to introduce the changes to Overwatch 1 as well. So if you just want to play PvP, you can stick with Overwatch 1. All the changes will happen. It won't look as pretty, but you'll still be able to play the same game as everybody else. But they've made the 5v5 change, and I kind of worry that that's not going to hold up. And then they're going to be like, oh, sorry, we can't transfer your skins and cosmetics either. And I'm just
don't do that.
And so they're going to release a PvP with no PvE. They're not going to let me transfer my skins. The stuff is not going to be backwards compatible with Overwatch 1, and I'm going to punch a hole in a wall. That's what's going to happen.
I hope not. I hope no.
That's not what happens.
Give it more faith. Come on.
I hope that's not what happens, but
I'm hopeless. I guess I'm just being more optimistic. But yeah, that's coming. So, dear listener, you can hop on Overwatch 2. You can hop on the Blizzard's website and sign up if this is something you want to look at. I tried to look to see if it's just PC, but they didn't really say if it's PC console or it just says sign up. So I don't know. I couldn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Deny. So, but I mean, Overwatch 1 is crossplay. You just use your Battle.net account. So I don't know. Guess we'll see. We'll see as we continue on before the beta drops. I'm sure there'll be something. So, but that's actually all the gaming news that I have. The news that I have for today. So, Caleb, you got anything for us?
I do. I have one item of gaming news. Listener, the Playdate. I love bringing this thing up because it's always so much fun. So, Panic Software, famous for making Mac software for years and years and years, also in the gaming space, more well known for being the publishers behind games like Firewatch or Untitled Goose Game, which are, so far, their games tend to be kind of like indie hits, like really small development team produces a game that everybody in the world is like, oh, that was amazing.
So, you're a goose that pisses people off. This is great.
So yes, that's Panic. They published that. They several years ago announced that they were going to be releasing a game console, which is a handheld called the Playdate. And you can go look this thing up online. It's got an analog input that is in the form of a crank on the side. It just is goofy as snot, and I love it. They said when they announced the Playdate that they were going to treat the thing as if every version was a developer kit, meaning that they were going to make their developer tools available to everybody that had a Playdate to develop games for the Playdate. That was one of their goals they had right from the very beginning. A couple of weeks ago, they released an online GUI tool called Pulp, which isn't, I don't know, it's not a full-on like SDK for developing games or anything like that, but it is a graphical user interface that you can use that's kind of tooled around helping you develop like 2D adventure games for the Playdate. And you can do it right there in the browser, and you can actually play it in the browser, kind of, and you can export it to a Playdate, from the browser and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. And then like a week later, they released the full developer SDK for this thing. Now, this is everything that you need as a person, a human being, to develop for the Playdate. And this sort of thing obviously exists for any console or, honestly, any game engine and stuff like that. They'll all have these software development kits available for people. Playdates has made theirs available at $20 a year, which in comparison to, other developer accounts that you need to get from companies like Google or Apple or Epic or Microsoft or whatever, that is a steal. That's fantastic. And it's actually a lie that I just said because it's free. It's not $20 a year. It's just free. $20 a year would have been a good deal, but it's a better deal than that. So cool. Really happy about that. Less happy about the fact that pre-orders that were supposed to ship in January still have not shipped. So technically no customers have actually received a Playdate console, even though it was supposed to launch at the beginning of this year. Oops. Apparently supply chain and crap has not been kind to them. That said, like I pointed out, you can play these games that you build, at least, in your browser if you want to. So I don't know, something to tide you over maybe. And maybe that's how Panic is looking at this, something to tide people over. But there you go. If you're at all interested in the Playdate or its whole deal, go check out the Pult website. Go to play.date and look at the SDK downloads and stuff like that. You might be interested in taking a look at those.
I would love for a Doom modder to put Doom on it. And then
It's only a matter of time.
With the crank, it's like every time you get to a certain point, it shoots a rocket. Or even the chain gun.
The chain, yes, it would be the chainsaw.
How cool would that be?
You'd have to crank it in order to...
I know, just like...
That would be flipping hilarious.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Gosh. I am now sitting here thinking, like, could you make it? Because, like, the directional buttons are under your left thumb, and the crank is on the right side of the device. So I'm sitting here like, could you make like a little first-person game where your weapon is just like a hand crank Gatling gun that you're carrying around, and that's how you fire it, and you can change your rate of fire by how fast you're spinning the crank? Ooh, that is such an interesting concept, Wes. You know what? You can go develop that game.
And then to reload, you have to go backwards, just like backwards for a little bit, and then you know,
just wind it back in.
You know, that'd be cool. I think.
Oh wait, no. Oh,
what?
You have a clip, right? You have a clip that's like 18 bullets or something like that you crank out by cranking forward, but your gun is like, it's like a temporal gun of some sort, so that the bullets fly out. But to reload, you run it the other way, and they come flying back in. You pull them back into the barrels, and they do damage on the way out and the way back.
Or
so
wait, not only that, I just got it. The best Ghostbuster game. Have your proton pack, and then to reel it in.
And then you reel it in.
Like, wouldn't that be awesome?
So much potential. See, listener, this is why I like this thing so much.
That would be fun.
I just think it's so unique and interesting.
You can throw out the trap with the left hand and then just like reel it in and pull. And that'd be so cool.
Or if you want to just make it really basic, just make a fishing game.
Yeah, or a fishing game. Yep.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how to develop video games. Gosh dang it. But I really want to make one of these now. Listener, if you have any interest in developing video games and you know how to code, that's kind of a requirement. Hit me up like on Twitter, or, you know, you can email the podcast, or, you know, comment on our website or something like that, and tell me like, hey, I'm interested in, because I really want to make this happen, but I don't know how.
Yeah, right.
I don't have time to learn how to code.
That would be cool. All right. Is that everything?
Yeah, that's my gaming news for this week.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I guess we're at the end of the episode, unless Landon has one more thing.
Had to
we
leave you
lucked out.
For a second. Had to leave you guessing for a minute. But yes, I do have one thing of gaming news that I wanted to bring. And listener, you're hearing this at the same time that Wes and Caleb are, because I want their, you know, live reaction on the podcast.
These are always good.
So this is, as usual, the case when it comes to me and gaming news. This is mobile gaming news. And I just want to read something that was on a blog by a developer that everyone enjoys. This says, beyond World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, we're preparing to get the first game in the Warcraft universe designed for mobile into your hands. We will tell you more about it in May.
What?
So Blizzard is planning on bringing some sort of Warcraft game to the mobile gaming sphere.
They did. It's called Hearthstone. What the?
Well, you got to remember, they think Hearthstone's something separate now. I know.
Flippin' turd monkeys. Okay, what if they mean literally we're making a physical card game version of Hearthstone? Like they're bringing it to your hand.
You know how many people would buy those cards?
That would be so
A
dumb.
lot.
It would sell really well, but it would be
Yeah.
dumb. I don't why anyways. Look, the reason I play Hearthstone is because the cards like jump up and hit each other and then blow up at the end. It's cool.
Yeah. So, I don't know what this could be.
What
Like,
the
I'm
heck?
thinking. I mean, I think of Bethesda,
Just-
and they came out with that Blades thing. I mean,
Does this mean they've given up on that Diablo game that was supposed to come to mobile?
Probably.
I
Was
haven't.
the reaction at BlizzCon that bad? It's like,
So-
really?
so- on that note, I was doing some reading on that, and they have said that they want to give some DLC to Diablo 2 Resurrection. And
Wait.
yeah, so they've said they want to do this, and my thought was because the Diablo Immortal they said is between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. I wonder if they're gonna just slowly put that in to Diablo as a DLC. They've mentioned that. If I was I can't remember who it was. I think it was Rod Ferguson. Had mentioned something like that, or like a
that's
little.
weird.
But maybe because I don't know.
But okay,
uh,
so then Warcraft something
Warcraft.
that isn't Hearthstone, because I'm sorry, is that not a Warcraft mobile game? I was misled, apparently.
Well, as it says, beyond World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, we're preparing to get the first game in the Warcraft universe designed for mobile into your hands. That's all it says. And that they will talk about it in May.
What could it be? I mean,
Designed for mobile doesn't make me feel great about it, because games that are designed for mobile, that used to mean, oh, this has like a really interesting gameplay gimmick that can only be done with a touchscreen. You know, like
Right.
endless runners or swipe
Yeah.
gesture enabled stuff or something like that. But nowadays it just means, oh, this game is going to show you ads constantly and will never shut up about you giving it more money. And you'll never actually be able to progress in the game unless you do. That's what designed for mobile means now. And I don't buy that Microsoft has had enough of an effect since they said they were going to purchase Blizzard that they will have changed that. This sounds like Activision shenanigans to me. That's how it feels in my heart. To be fair, my heart
Yeah.
is black and cold, so who knows?
This is going to
Well-
be a version of Temple Run, but with Warcraft characters.
Oh, jeez. See Stitches just trying to run. Bruh.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Actually, I loved Temple Run. I would play that.
I don't know what it could be. I really don't like if it's
Yeah.
meant for the phone. The only thing I can think of is if they tried to do that Elder Scrolls Blades thing. I mean, it's okay, but
Yeah, I don't know. Does it
I don't
make
know.
sense with Warcraft though? Like, because Blades is pretty different than anything traditionally Warcraft.
well, if Blades is just another, like, it's the same world, but it's like, oh, instead of 10,000 years before Oblivion, it's 5,000 in this little thing over here.
Yeah.
You know, so
It's just in terms of the gameplay, like the way the gameplay feels and stuff like that. It feels more Elder Scrolls and less
Yeah.
Warcraft. You know, like they're very different from each other. So I don't know what you would do with Warcraft that would be like Blades that would make sense, but I don't know. Maybe they just mean like it's a completely separate story and it's just a miniature little third-person RPG that you play on your phone. But that doesn't feel like it's designed for mobile. You know?
yeah.
So I don't
know.
know. This is a cryptic statement, and I don't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. This one, we just have to see. I guess we're waiting until May.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently.
So
But
Yeah, that's all I gotta really say about it.
I had to mention that because I knew you guys would have opinions. So
Obviously.
well, I mean, overall, I'd have to say, I mean, it's saying for mobile, I'm definitely like, ew. And Caleb's probably the same. But I don't know how old I don't know how long this has been in development or anything, but
I know what
Guess
it's
we'll
going to
see.
be. And this is going back to what I said earlier. So they're going to announce things about this in May, and then it's going to be fully announced and released at the iPhone event on the M1 iPhone Pro.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
That would be the dumbest thing they could do, yes.
Nice.
I mean, when was the last time we had Blizzard at an iPhone event? Or any Apple event, for that matter? It's been a while.
Yeah. You know what? If that's what happens, then Microsoft is going to definitely buy out Blizzard because, Apple showed off Halo at an event one time.
That's true.
And Microsoft immediately bought Bungie. So
yeah,
that's my prediction.
I don't know what it could be. I really, really don't.
And it's exclusive to Apple Arcade.
That is wow. And Nintendo, because everyone has to include Nintendo. Right?
Oh no, that's true, actually. But if it's on Apple Arcade, that means no microtransactions. So
okay, that works.
We take those.
But I don't think Activision would plan that.
No.
So I don't know, Landon. You got to have the microtransactions. This is still Activision.
Okay, it's not going to be on Apple Arcade, but I'm still holding out for that M1 iPhone Pro.
That's what it is. I still can't think of what it could be. Like I couldn't think of gameplay. I couldn't think of an excuse, because I don't know if they try and do a Diablo thing with it, because that's not a Warcraft thing.
No.
So
I got nothing.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to see.
It's gonna be a phone-based real-time strategy game. I'm clueless. No idea.
Oh, jeez. Warcraft 4 on the no. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
What a better way to spit in the Warcraft community's eye. That would beautiful.
Oh, don't do
that. We released your quote-unquote remastered version of Warcraft 3, except it sucks, and made it so you can't play your old one, and here's this now.
Yeah.
We've been selling World of Warcraft back to you at 20-year intervals.
Yeah. I don't know.
Now here's Warcraft 4, or it's on
mobile.
It's on a phone.
And the Switch.
Oh, jeez.
Because it has to be. Anyway, I think that's everything. We're just rambling now. So, all right, dear listener, thanks for going with us on this. This was kind of a long episode, probably because of that Apple event, but thanks for sticking with us. And if you want to get a hold of us, you can on any of our social media platforms. If you want to see any videos that we produce, or Caleb produces, let's be real, he's the only one producing these. It's on Calling All Platforms on YouTube. All right, dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.